Hi, everybody. I see more people are joining in. Thank you so much. We'll give this a couple of minutes before we start off. Just give a few people to join in. Right. So I see many people are joining in. So just naming a few. Hi, Vincent. Hi, Pablo. Thank you so much for joining in. Hi, Pranav. Hi, Karen. All right, so we're almost a minute in, and we'll just start off with letting in a few more people in. Just keep them waiting there for another 30 seconds, and then we can start off. We're really excited to show you what we have today. So we'll be so glad, to see your reactions after that, to hear your thoughts after that as well. All right. All right. So we've given it time and now we'll kick off. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for your time today and your participation. So we are absolutely super excited to introduce you to FoodGPT today. And before we start off, I'd like to share some house rules just to keep this in sync and also keeping your time in mind. So throughout the webinar, please feel free to ask your questions on the message box. There's a Q&A section, so feel free to add in your questions. And we will make sure that we address them towards the end of the webinar. Right. And we will also be running a few polls during the entire webinar session. This is to keep it interactive and to also understand you better. All right, so let's jump in to today's agenda. So for today's agenda, we will first be starting off, obviously, with a brief round of introductions, and then we'll be moving ahead with the current challenges that are currently present in the F&B brand space, right? So what are the challenges that F&B brands are currently facing in the market? Now, there's also a rise in the use of generative AI. So we'll also be giving you a sneak peek of what the AI market currently looks like. And then based on that, how is generative AI via AI palette actually solving the overload of data concerns that brands have today? We will also be showing you a demo of the FoodGPT platform. With that said, I'd like to start off with introducing myself. My name is Michelle King. I am the growth director at AI Palette. I have a decade of experience working with large and mid-sized companies that basically enabling them to better position their brands in the marketplace. And now I hand it off to Himanshu to take it forward.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Hello, everyone. I'm Himanshu, and I'm the co-founder and CTO at AI Palette, where I lead the technology and the vision. And I'm super excited today to unravel our amazing AI co-pilot to all of you. And I hope all of you are as excited as me. Now, in this 21st century digital age, a big problem that we all have today, surprisingly, is not lack of information, but rather too much information. There's just huge amount of information coming in from all the different directions and sources, be it internal or external. And you know what is the exciting as well as the scary part? That this information is only going to double in every 2 years from here. Now, according to a recent research, an average individual consumes 4 articles and close to 8,000 words every single day. And we, as modern knowledge workers, are expected to go through this big data and draw constant insights, which is not an easy task by any degree. Now, here's a quick poll for all of you.
All right, so in front of you, you should be seeing a poll. The question for you is, how many data sources do you typically use to get consumer insights? Are they minimum 2 sources, 3, or 4 plus? Please feel free to click in on the questionnaire there, and we'll get the results and share them with you. All right. So the answers are on your screen now. As you can see, there are 4+ data sources. That's 54% of you have said that there are 4+ data sources, right? So that is a massive amount of data sources that you have. And now, having said that, I'll also start off with another questionnaire. Right, so you should be seeing this on your screen now. The question is, how automated is product innovation or re-innovation processes for you currently in your companies? Are they manual? Are they semi-automated? Automated completely? And are they AI driven? Right, so this is just to understand currently how are you running your processes for product innovation and re-innovation. I'll give it a minute or so there for everybody to answer. You should shortly be seeing the answers. So as you can see, it's manually done. So 57% of you have said manually or semi-automatically. But given the age of AI, we have 0% right now using that. So I now hand it off to Himanshu to take it forward.
Fantastic. And I mean, great to see that all of us are in the same boat of being surrounded by multiple data sources and having some sort of semi-automated way of deriving insights for the product innovation or the renovation process. And at the same time, I totally understand and empathize with the pain of the ones who selected manual as a response here. Now, if I were to focus a lens on this information overload problem in the context of food and beverage domain, the following set of challenges emerge. The first and foremost is the problem of plenty. In the F&B world, data comes from a plethora of data sources, right from your sales data to the consumer research reports to the online reviews to the new product databases to the sensory and the culinary data. Now, earlier in the poll, we saw that most of us use more than 4+ data sources, which come with thousands and sometimes millions of records. Now, to determine which one to use for which use case becomes quite challenging with this overloading of the big data. And it is quite common for the analyst to get lost in this huge sea of big data. And now, even if you somehow get the data sets together and figure out how to use them, the second set of challenges emerge, which is how do we harmonize these big data sets? The problem we call as the broken integrations. Well, what is data harmonization, you ask? It is the method of unifying disparate data fields, formats, dimensions, and columns into a composite data set, which can then be passed to garner insights. Now, F&B domain with its myriad of tools, platforms, and technologies requires seamless integrations when it comes to data. And even though there are multiple subscriptions that the organizations have today, no single tool has the capability to pass through all the different integrations. And therefore, bringing all of this data under one unified and harmonic framework is a task that is easier said than done. And now let's assume that if we do figure out these first two challenges somehow, maybe in a semi-automated way, as the earlier poll showed. However, we are still far from a perfect solution, as emerges another ever-present challenge of time to value. Since the analyst manually or semi-manually analyze most of the data today, and the time taken to derive insights is quite long. And there are still gaps in generating and validating specific consumer insights. Now, in this fast-paced world of F&B, insights need to be instantaneous and the decisions must be made swiftly. So where is the silver lining in all of this? And now, what if I told you that there is a technology that could help you to solve all of these huge problems of your day-to-day life? What if I told you that there is a technology that would supercharge you to become a superhuman and get your consumer insights answers before the time you finish sipping your favorite tea or coffee? Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you generative AI. Now, many are calling out the year 2023 as the inflection point in terms of the future value that AI is going to bring in. And one thing is very clear: artificial intelligence isn't just a buzzword anymore. AI is the future, and the future is now. Now, the graphic that you see here paints a very compelling picture of the trajectory. As you can see, by 2032, the AI industry is projected to be valued at a staggering 2.5 trillion US dollars. And this is not just plain vanilla growth. It is an exponential surge, as you can see from the curve, indicating the immense potential and the trust industries are placing in the AI technologies. And several factors are driving this growth, right from the automation to the big data analytics, from the healthcare to the entertainment. AI is finding applications in every nook and cranny of our industries. Its ability to learn, adapt, and predict makes it an invaluable asset in today's dynamic world. And therefore, seizing this opportunity is extremely important for every organization. And that means discussing and understanding how AI can help deliver value and accelerate the growth. And all of you are already on your way to seize this opportunity by being a part of today's webinar. Now, talking about the AI and the significant contributor to the growth of the AI is a new entrant on the technology block, that is generative AI, and its new kid on the block, which is the large language models. By creating new content, whether it is text, images, or even complex simulations, generative AI is pushing the boundaries of what machines can achieve. And I'm sure most of you would have already experienced or tasted the power of generative AI while experimenting with ChatGPT. And now, which brings me to another poll.
You're going to be seeing the poll question on your screen now. So, are you currently using any AI-based tools in your product innovation process? I know most of you did say 0% is AI-based driven when it comes to innovation and re-innovation, but is there any other AI-based tools that you are currently using simultaneously? So, yes, no, or partially. So we'll give it a couple of seconds there and before we reveal the answers. All right, so as you can see, partially there are still 28% using it when it comes to innovation and re-innovation, but mostly it's 54% saying no. Right, so now hand it off to Himanshu again.
Thank you, Michelle. And I mean, yeah, as rightly predicted, most of you selected no and maybe as the responses when asked about the usage of any AI tools in your product innovation process. And which is also expected considering that today in the market, there are very few AI tools that are catering to the CPG industry. And we at AI Palette are extremely happy and proud that we get the opportunity to be one of those few. All right. So now without further ado, let's go ahead with our unveiling of FoodGPT. The cook is finally out of the hat. FoodGPT is an exciting and revolutionary AI tool for the CPG industry designed to provide powerful as well as unparalleled consumer insights. Now, beyond its powerful core technology, FoodGPT currently has an intuitive chatbot interface. And what FoodGPT helps you to do is unlock the insightful answers to your burning consumer insights questions by simply typing in your questions. And that's it. It's as simple as asking a question on Google as to what are top 5 growing trends in Indonesia market and getting an instant answer. FoodGPT, as the name suggests, is tailored for the F&B industry, is specifically catering to the consumer insights and innovation team, the R&D departments, and the marketing teams. And what makes FoodGPT really unique is the training data behind it. FoodGPT has been trained on an extensive data set of over 61 billion data points across 24 markets, making it incredibly accurate in understanding global consumer preferences, habits, and desires. Now, with this enhanced precision, businesses like yours can make well informed decisions and create products that resonate with the target audience. Now, let's try to understand FoodGPT in more depth. Now let us double click on the sources or the data sources specifically to really understand how FoodGPT works. Now, as I mentioned earlier, FoodGPT has already been trained on the AI pilot datasets, a dataset comprised of 61 billion data points ranging from the social media data, where people love to talk about food. This includes the likes of the platform like Instagram, Twitter, etc. Then comes the Google search engine where people query in their interest areas. For example, someone going to Google and typing in, I want to reduce my weight, which keto recipe should I use? And then comes the menus and the recipes data, extremely important data sources that also primarily drive the F&B trends, since a lot of inspiration gets derived from the new cocktails and the mixed dishes. And finally, your e-commerce data. Again, a very important data source to understand not just your brand, but also your competitor brand. And that is not all, by the way. In addition to our datasets, you can also BYOD with us, which is bring your own datasets. And you can easily integrate them with a food GPT. These datasets, again, could be in the form of consumer research reports, market sizing, social listening, and sales reports, to name a few. And if you have your datasets residing in your own in-house data lake architecture, we can deploy food GPT directly in your environment itself. Now, before I go further, I would like to take a pause here and really understand more about how you think you can leverage Food GPT in your day to day life. So, which is that one burning problem, that one use case which bugs you every single day and causes pain? The pain which you would want Food GPT to take away from you for forever. We would love to hear your thoughts via the comment section.
All right, so we will be looking into the answers that you're sharing. It could be through the Q&A, it can be through whichever mode of communication you're seeing on your screen. And till then, we will actually also move ahead to the next slide.
All right. So while you are typing in your sessions, let me take you to some of the destinations where F&B AI Copilot Food GPT can. Now, first and foremost is the consolidation of the multiple data streams, which is where you can upload the multiple data sources from your side, get a consolidated view of the market, and get to a faster time to insights and value. Now, did you know that an average CPG company analyst taps into over five distinct data sources just to glean consumer insights? And the challenge in that, you have to shift through overlapping, redundant, and even contradictory information at times. Now, with Food GPT, this clutter is a thing of the past. Food GPT streamlines and refines, presenting you with only the most pertinent insights for the questions that you ask, and that too with data backing. The second is the fast access to the condensed insights without spending a lot of time on digging into the exact data sources to connect the dots. Now, what would have taken you hours to go through multiple reports can be condensed down into few lines, giving you all the firepower you need for that internal stakeholder meeting for which you need to prepare an insights presentation. The third is with proper inputs. Food GPT would allow you to generate the end to end consumer insights reports looking for the hard seltzer growing trends in the US market? Or how about the healthy snacking trends in the India market? Or maybe the current coffee trend report for the Indonesia market? You can get all of this in the structured way that you want even before you finish that cup of coffee. Now, fourth is all the marketing collateral that would take you weeks to prepare, which can be distilled down to hours. Looking for your next Instagram ad content to promote the chamomile lavender tea. Or how about a Facebook ad for the hot honey chips targeted towards millennials? Food GPT will help you craft the perfect resonating message with your audience as it understands not just one, not just two, but millions of your target consumers and their online digital footprint. And finally, last but not the least, all of us want to be part of the legacy of creating the consumer winning products. After all, that's what a true North Star is. And Food GPT will help you to generate your winning food hypothesis by marrying your brand data that includes the past concepts, the sales, the brand persona with our consumer digital footprint, which is in form of social media, the e-commerce, the menus, and the recipes. And with the user-friendly interface, FoodGPT ensures that even without a deep technical background, the teams can harness its capabilities to identify trends, craft the creative concepts, and then test these concepts with unparalleled efficiency. And while these use cases sound very promising on paper, the true magic of FoodGPT is best experienced firsthand. So let's dive into a demo now and witness the transformative power of FoodGPT in action. All right. So as you would see on my screen, this is how a Food GPT interface looks like. As mentioned earlier, it has a chat-based interface today. And the first and foremost is the data integration. So when you go for the data integration, now there are two ways in which you can integrate your data. The first is by selecting a file and dropping it here. And the second is by connecting to the database which you already are subscribed for. These could again be the different market research platform or the social media listening tools that you subscribe to. Right now, we will go ahead and upload some files which are out there. All right, so what I have uploaded are the different food reports and specifically for the US market currently, and I've also uploaded a sales data sample. And once you upload this, what is really happening behind the scenes is that FoodGPT is creating, firstly, parsing through all these different data which we uploaded, and it is creating the word embeddings for all of this data. And it is integrating that with the AI palette data sets that are already out there for the US market. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, it's a chat-based interface. And let's assume that I am a US snacks manufacturer and I'm looking for some new fresh flavor and ideas. So you can just go ahead and type in the chat window that tell me some of the new flavors that I should, sorry for the typing here, that I should focus on for the snacks category in the US market. All right. So now what is really happening behind the scenes is again with integration of the data, which is there shared currently, these four data reports. And in addition to the AI palette proprietary data set, which is out there for the USA snacks market, we find the following things. So the first is that spicy and tangy flavors are trending in the snacks category, and you can see the different flavors which are trending, such as lime and the lemon, which are more citrus in nature, and also which are combined with the chili as a flavor. And you can also see the 2 year CAGR, which showcases that the flavors have really been growing over the past 2 years with 34% growth rate. And you can also see that apart from the spicy and tangy, but is also resonating well with the audience are the sweet and the savory flavors. And again, this has been growing at a consistent rate in the last 2 years of 19%. In addition to that, there are flavors that are getting inspired by the international cuisine, and also the flavors with the kick of the heat are very, very popular. Now, based on this, I want to understand that is it backed by any sales data? So let's type that in. Now, here, what I really want to understand is there any proof point for the spicy and the tangy, which we are saying? And as you can see, the food GPT again goes through the tons of the data and immediately pops out the answer, which is that the information is indeed backed by the sales data. And according to the data uploaded, the spicy and tangy flavors and sweet and savory flavors have been growing in the past at a rate of over 8.5%, which showcases that these are going to be very exciting in the coming year as well. Now that we have got the validation for the flavors which are out there, let us try to build some hypothesis based on the above data. So let me build out the hypothesis. So can you build me a food hypothesis based on the above data, or let's say based on the above shared data? All right. And again, what the food GPT will be doing is trying to understand which flavors are there, which it already identified previously, and also try to dig into the reasons part of it. So here you can see while it talks about the spicy and tangy flavors which are trending in the snacks category, it also talks about the various reasons for the same. So for example, the spicy and tangy flavors, they are offering a bold and exciting taste experience. They are associated with exotic and international cuisine, and they can be enjoyed by people of all ages. And this is very interesting because this is where the food GPT really starts edging over the different tools which are out there, because it starts to not just get into the what, but also the why part of it, which is extremely important when you are presenting your findings to the internal stakeholders or when you're designing a product concept for your end consumers. And now let's get into building out the product concept itself, because I mean that is what our end objective is. We really want to understand which are the kind of food concept that we should be building, which are going to win over our consumer ideas. So let me type that in, that can you create a product concept for the snacks. And let's give it a target. Let's say we target it towards the millennials, for example. All right, so let me now, again, what is really happening is that it is going through the multiple amount of information that is already out there in the AI pilot database and the research reports that were uploaded. And it is providing the recommendation, a very interesting recommendation if you focus on the screen, which is smoked spicy Korean potato chips. And as you can see, the target market are the adults who are looking for bold and exciting taste experiences. And again, quite interesting that it talks about the flavor profile in terms of blending the Korean spices, and it talks about the different Korean spices, and it also talks about how it will have a sweet and spicy flavor with a hint of smoke. But is also exciting is the fact that it talks about the packaging aspect. While today FoodGPT works on the text part of it, but we are working towards the image generation, which will help you to also get the packaging design recommendations right here in the chat window. And also the marketing and promotion. As you can see, it talks about which are the different channels which can be utilized for marketing and promoting these Korean chips. And also it really mentions like how it would focus on the bold and exciting flavor and the fact that they are inspired by the Korean cuisine. And no wonder K-pop is taking over the entire world, and it's no difference, and there's no exception that US is left out. So this is the way in which you can go through the end-to-end journey on the Food GPT platform itself. And obviously you can continue to mention and highlight and ask questions, as many questions as you want. And what is also very interesting is the feedback that you can give it to it. It can be in terms of positive feedback or the negative feedback. And what is really going to happen is the AI is going to look at the negative feedback, and it will continue to improve the answers from there. And whatever is getting a positive feedback starts getting resonated with your brand persona and your brand values. And if you want to provide a detailed feedback, you can always go to a more detailed feedback where you can provide feedback in terms of the product enhancement or a new feature development. And we are more than open to help you out in your journey. So now I will get back to the slide and talk about the other aspects of the differentiation. But I hope you really like the powerful demo that we showcased to you, and I'm super excited to unveil it today in front of you all. All right, so now let me get back to the differentiation part. All right. So I'm sure by now you would be thinking to yourself, how is FoodGPT different from ChatGPT? Well, it's quite simple to understand, but before that, I want you to learn a rule in AI, which is data in, data out. Now, ChatGPT has been trained on Wikipedia, books, and knowledge articles, and therefore its output is great when it comes to doing generic tasks like composing a work email, or let's say writing a dedicated poem for your loved one. But FoodGPT, on the other hand, has been trained on CPG specific data coming in from menus, recipes, e-commerce, search, and social conversations around F&B, making it much better in understanding the consumer preferences and their likes. Now, when you build a tool for everybody, then the depth to which it can go also gets limited. And therefore, when it comes to understanding the F&B nuances and answering questions, ChatGPT has limited capabilities. And now that we discussed about the training data, let us also talk about the training date. Now, the GPT-4, which is the underlying model of ChatGPT, has been trained with the data only till September 2021, which means ChatGPT does not possess knowledge of events that have occurred post the September 2021. FoodGPT, on the other hand, gets trained on a monthly basis based on the data refresh that we do continuously, which allows you to tap into all the emerging and early trends that are happening in the F&B domain. And finally, solving the hallucination problem. Now, every NLP model carries a hallucination by its inherent nature, and GPT-4 is no exception. However, what is quite challenging is that references don't get a mention in most of the ChatGPT responses. FoodGPT, on the other hand, provides the data back results for the responses with the exact mention of the data points mentioned along with the CAGR growth rate, as you saw earlier in the response, and also the link to a trend platform that gives even more detailed specifics about a trend. And not just ChatGPT, but even when compared to the other generative AI tools that are out there in the market, FoodGPT makes an indelible difference. How? Let us explore that as well. Now, continuing on the FoodGPT differentiation and the drivers behind the same, these are the three drivers that stand out. Now, first is the rich F&B domain data. AI Palette has more than 8 years of rich data which has been accumulated on the F&B industry. This comprehensive dataset includes the in-depth consumer conversations and product reviews, and the data from the search engine, the food service, and the retail products, making it the industry's most diverse information. Second is the personalized platform for your growth opportunities. Now, AI Pilot adopts a personalized approach to an innovation process, taking into account your brand persona, your sales figures, and the proprietary data sets, and not just focusing on AI Pilot online data alone. By doing this, we are able to get personalized insights that enable Food GPT to get better with time, to understand your brand, and provide tailored recommendations to address your unique challenges. And third is the core of what we cook at AI Palette, which is the vertical AI models with contextual understanding. Our AI algorithms are trained exclusively on the food and beverage industry data, focusing on identifying sector relevant trends and consumer insights and building out the CPG ontology. Our decisioning framework prioritizes the category specific insights, allowing us to assist in both product innovation as well as renovation. And with a profound understanding of the multiple data types such as text, emoji, and images, which we are effectively leveraging to garner insights, we at AI Palette are able to understand early signals in the F&B domain. Now, one of the question still remains unanswered, and which is a very common question that customers ask is how secure is all of this? How are we managing the data security? So allow me to answer that in my next segment. We at AI Palette provide unparalleled data security. We totally understand and value the trust that our customers place upon us. Now, firstly, we absolutely ensure that the client specific data gets stored in separate schemas and which is isolated from each other. On a cloud framework, this is a single tenancy solution. Secondly, all of the data is encrypted at rest, and we use one of the most secure encryption algorithm out there, which is AES 256, which is also an industry gold standard and is used extensively in the government and military projects. Thirdly, we have RBAC implemented. Now, RBAC is role-based access control. It is a method of restricting access based on the different roles of individual users within an organization. And access is controlled and managed by KMS, which is a key management system, maintaining differential levels of access. On top of that, AI Pilot is ISO 278 certified. And as you can see, we take our data access and security very seriously. So you can be rest assured that your data is in safe hands. All right, so now it's time for yet another poll. And this time a poll that determines not mine, not yours, but our future together.
All right, so you should be shortly seeing a poll on your screen. And the question is, what is your future expectations from Food GPT? So based on everything you just saw and what all we are doing, right? We would love to hear from you as to what are your expectations and the need of the hour. So is it analysis and reporting in a native language? Is it that you want the output to be in an image format? Is it that the visual graphs be there from numeric data that you feed into the system? Or any other suggestions or thoughts that you may have, please feel free to add them in. We'll give it a couple of seconds for you to be able to pick your answer. All right. You should shortly be seeing the answers there. All right, so visual graphics from numerical data is the top, and others is 3%. We can always connect on that. And yes, analysis and reporting is second in line to visual graphs. All right, that really helps us understand what you need. All right, so we also have another poll for you, and this is just to keep in mind our time that we have right now. So obviously we cannot cover everything and make it custom to your brands. You'll see another poll on your screen, and the question is just to keep and have an understanding and keep you on priority. The question is, do you want a custom demo for Food GPT? Yes or no? If you pick yes, we will pick you basically have our priority list, and we'll have you on that priority list to reach out to you and block a slot to discuss this in a much more custom, detailed manner for your brand itself. All right, I think we should be good with that. All right, perfect. So now we are almost at the end, and thank you so much. Most of you have said yes, so we're really glad to reach out to you. And with that being said, we have reached out to the end of the session and the webinar, and we have a couple of minutes more. We are open to questions. So we did receive a lot of questions, and thank you so much for that during the session. And we'll take a few of them that we've got. So the first question that we've got is, if we want to use Food GPT, we must share our internal data. Himanshu, do you want to take that up?
Sure. Thank you so much, anonymous user, for the question. So yeah, there's absolutely no need of only Food GPT being dependent on just your data alone. It can also use the AI pilot data set that we already mentioned in terms of 61 billion data points. So no worries if you don't have your own data sets. You can always use the data sets that we have already trained the model on. But the reason why we recommend using the data set of yours is so that the responses get personalized over a period of time, because the food GPT keeps on understanding your brand better and better. But at the same time, if you're not sharing it, you can still use it to understand the market insights.
Absolutely. Right, I hope that addresses the question that you had there. We've got the next question. How do you manage data security if we use the AI with our internal data? Do you want to elaborate on that, Himanshu?
Yeah, so there are two ways in which we do it. So, for example, if you have already your own cloud warehouse setup or your data warehouse setup, which could be on any of the cloud platforms, which could be AWS, GCP, or Azure, then what we would do is we would deploy the food GPT in your environment and keep the output also in your own databases. So we won't even be creating any databases or any single tenancy environment on our side, and make sure that everything stays in your own environment. But at the same time, that being said, there could be organizations that don't have the high technology or the data warehousing capabilities. In those cases, the data would remain in the AI palette. And like we mentioned earlier, that we obviously make sure that our data security is top notch. So the way that we would handle in that case is by having a single tenancy environment, which means a isolated environment for your brand, which is separated from all the other brands which are using the food GPT. So again, you will have your own dedicated database where the data is going to be residing, and it will not be interacting with any of the other client databases which are out there, because we understand the information that you will be sharing can be sensitive at times, and that's why we want to make sure that all of this is segregated from each other.
Right. I hope that addresses a couple of questions. As I can see, there were a lot around data security and things like that. So I hope they
Yeah,
are up.
I think. Yep, yep. I also see one very interesting question about how food trends travel from one market to the another, because that's something which we at AI Palette have really worked upon. And the way in which the food trends travel from one market to the other is through the influencing factors and the influencing geographies. So, for example, in the food GB demo that I showcased to you, because of the K-pop and the Korean culture really penetrating across the globe, you can see how the Korean food influence is also getting felt. So, for example, not just in the US, but also in Indonesia and in India for that matter. And the way in which we are able to determine this is because of the fact that we collect data from 24 different geographies, we are able to map the trajectory of a trend across multiple locations simultaneously. For example, we are able to understand if a particular trend, say teobaki, is it growing or emerging in, say, South Korea market, and the same trend, how is it performing in the Thailand market, for example, or in Indonesia market. So at any given point of time, because we have this visibility on the AI platform, on a foresight engine, you will be able to get a glimpse understanding about how the trends are flowing. And not just that, we are also able to predict how the trend is going to grow in the future because of the factors which we look into the data sets themselves, which could be in terms of what are the new restaurants that are adopting the dishes, how many e-commerce brands are coming up, be it the big brands or be it the D2C brands. We would be looking into the social conversations, we would be looking into the search patterns and whatnot. So based on that, we are able to understand how these food trends are really traveling, and this is one of the biggest differentiator that we have today.
All right, perfect. So I hope that addressed your question. So we've got a couple of questions around the multiple formats, right? So I'm just combining all of those questions into one question. So basically, we can address it on what kind of data formats can the AI actually ingest on the platform?
Right, right. So currently, as you saw, we are connecting with either your databases or we are ingesting the PDFs. So the two ways in which we are doing it is, one is through the API integration, which is going to be in JSON format, or the other way is the PDF directly getting ingested. But that being said, we are also working in terms of ingesting the files in the CSV format, in the .txt format, and also the image format. And primarily, why the CSV? Because a lot of the sales data actually comes in that format. And as we saw in the poll earlier, that a lot of you are very interested in terms of the visualization of the graphs, and that's where we feel the CSV ingestion is going to play a very key role. So these are the different data formats that we ingest today.
All right, perfect. I hope that addresses answers in terms of the format. There's another question here. So, whether the data will be gathered automatically from the multiple sources, or is it that the user would need to ingest it onto the platform?
Got it. So, like I had mentioned earlier, that AI palette obviously is built on its own huge amount of data set spanning across multiple geographies and having a data volume of 61 billion data points. But that being said, we have seen the cases where sometimes the customers or the clients might have certain specific websites. Again, these could be some forums where which are very, very specific to the food and beverage, or these could also be some of the patent related websites and whatnot. So in those cases, the way that we currently work is that we build the customized scrapers and we go ahead and collect the data, and then we feed it into the FoodGPT as a one-time, first-time collection, and then it keeps on continuously happening throughout the month. So that is one way in which we integrate that. In addition to that, we also are working in terms of integrating the RSS feeds from some of the relevant websites which are out there. So this is specifically for the external data sources that you really want. When it comes to the internal data sources, like I had mentioned earlier, we can ingest them in the API format, and the other way is obviously via uploading your own PDFs or the CSV files.
Correct. I hope that addresses that. Now we've got so Torin has basically asked the question, what if you don't have any data? Can I still use Food GPT?
Absolutely, you can. Like I had mentioned earlier, that AI palette itself has been built on our extensive data set spanning across the multiple geographies and having a data volume of 61 billion data points. So you can still go ahead and put in your questions and get the responses to that. The only reason we recommend you integrate your data is, of course, to get more personalized insights. But that being said, you can still go ahead and use whatever the data sets that we have today.
All right, perfect. So now I just have a few more questions. I'll take up any
Yeah,
more.
I think,
We're
yeah,
tight on
probably I'll
time now.
I'll take one. Yeah, I'll take one, which is, which is very, very interesting, because that's something we have been recently working on, which is, can we check the specific brand insights using the Food GPT? So while that being said, today in the Foresight engine, the one of the primary data sources that we ingest is the e-commerce data, where essentially we have all the different brand related informations of the different products that are out there, right from the big MNCs to the smallest of the D2C brands. So definitely brand insights is something the Food GPT can help you with. And that being said, it's always better if you already have some competition in your mind or some specific brand ideas that you really want to incorporate in the food GPT, which could again come from your brand persona or the research reports that you have done in the past, because then it makes the food GPT even more powerful. But even without it, today, if you go on the platform, you can obviously get the responses based on the data set that we have already.
All right. So we've almost run out of time. We're dot on 12:45. So what we can do is we will be sending out an email to you, and there's going to be a link on the screen as well. There is a link to our website, so you can contact us, and we will block a demo time for you. So that demo will be customized for your brand. We'll understand what exactly you need, and then we can take it forward. All right, so thank you again so much for your time today and your participation. We really hope this was interesting. And this is the next level for innovation and re-innovation in the food and beverage industry. So we're looking forward to connect with you in the next coming few days. All right, take care. Have a great day ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for attending and have a great day ahead. Bye bye.